Good evening, everyone. Greetings and love. I am Marcia from Gnoshery Libertas, and this is Sanctuary, episode 39, which is pretty crazy and hard to believe. Initially, this episode was meant to air last Monday, October 10th, but due to circumstances of having to often act out the light transmission that Spirit presents, I was not available last Monday. So this Monday is when the light transmission is actually being presented. And often we kind of walk through a portal or a realm of consciousness. And sometimes, we have that gnosis ahead of time, some intuition about what's going on, but sometimes we're walking into things very blindly, and it's purposeful and meaningful. And so tonight we're going to kind of talk about that and why that's occurring, not only individually, but collectively. And before we start, if you are interested in joining us live, you can find Gnoshery Libertas on patreon.com. You can also search us as Gnoshery Cafe on buymeacoffee.com. And additional ways to connect one-to-one for readings or mentorships with Spirit. These are personal, individual readings and mentorships. You can also go to our website at gnosherylibertas.com or email gnosherylibertas@gmail.com. We would love to have you. We would love to connect. And every Monday evening, we get together to create a sacred space, to create a heart opening, not only on our personality levels, but on a collective level, where we tune into what I call the weave, which was a term that Spirit, Great Spirit, Holy Spirit, whatever name you want to call the nameless, or that which kind of moves through us and is also much bigger than us, and often has the wider or eagle eye perspective that our more linear, narrow view of our human self can't always, see this bigger picture. And so we gather every Monday night to connect these energies, to kind of bring the highest and greatest weave together through allowing Spirit to move through us, and also to kind of just have this ability to allow the human self, the ego self, the personality self, the part of us that is experiencing this, that often feels that life is happening to us. Connecting in with the Spirit with a capital S allows us to understand that life is happening through us and for us. And so when we start to have that more meaningful perspective, things begin to make sense on a much greater and deeper level. And of course, that brings the personality, human, ego self, whatever you want to call the smaller self, a lot of peace, a lot more calm, and the ability to move through some of these more challenging circumstances, both individually and collectively, with a responsive nature rather than a triggered or reactive nature. So each week, Spirit will bring forth what Spirit calls a light transmission, or a reading of the current energies from Spirit's perspective, and also giving us practical physical action steps that we can take on a human level to make sure that we are in alignment with our divinity, with our soul, so that we are always right place, right time, and we are receiving that intuitive information and those subtle nudges and nuances that we get when we are connected to our hearts and to the weave. So tonight's light transmission is called The Way I Am. And when I was in meditation, the song The Way I Am by Ingrid Michaelson came on. And often throughout these readings, you will hear me refer to lyrics that Spirit activates during my meditations. And Spirit will use these lyrics to help us understand soul concepts that might be harder to grasp from a linear perspective. And we all know that music, sometimes cuts right through the BS and goes right to the heart, totally surpassing the mind. And so Spirit will often activate certain lyrics that highlight the energies of our light transmission. So the way, I am. And here, Spirit referring kind of to a double entendre, the way being the way, the truth, and the light, the way to connect to the greater I am presence. And to the human mind, that really doesn't mean anything until we have experienced it within our own heart. But the beauty of that is just our desire to connect with that greater I am presence will allow that opening to take place. And in order to do that, the smaller self, the part of us that is kind of living the human experience, we are challenged to accept ourselves the way we are, that the gateway or the portal to this higher I am presence is to begin to love and to see ourselves through the eyes of God, which is love. And so tonight, as we explore this light transmission of the way I am, we will also explore the supporting energies that will help us and uplift us and nourish us. In fact, the first energy is the Divine Mother, nourishing and supporting, and bringing us into this place where we are free from judgment and free to love, where we can release attachment. And Spirit says, awaken the soul, which allows us to have full responsibility and accountability for our lives. And finally, returning to the womb of the earth, or Spirit called this the mother of second chances. And so over the next few months, we're going to feel this energy of second chances coming through both individually and collectively. And things are going to start going even more haywire on what Spirit calls the middle realm, or the realm that the human personality is experiencing, the external, what we would call our reality, what Spirit calls reality with a lowercase r. And as all of this is kind of going into even more mayhem than normal, the upper realms and the lower realms are becoming as one. And this upheaval that's happening on the middle realm is all necessary, because Spirit is saying we can no longer ground our energy into people or careers, identities, or distractions, that we need to have a new grounding system. And that is coming through the connection to our own divinity, what we've talked about on previous calls, our personal relationship with the Creator, which we can only know through our own hearts. No one else can be the conduit for us in that way. And allowing ourselves to be okay with not knowing, which is incredibly hard for the personality self. The ego always wants to feel secure in some way. And so we do try to ground into these relationships or these identities or these distractions or these roles that we have. And we may start to find over the next few months that some of those are just being stripped of us. And that can be incredibly uncomfortable. And so Spirit wants to show us that while that is all happening, we're also going to be starting to feel on a cellular and cellular level, a level of peace and bliss unlike we have ever experienced on planet Earth. And so there's going to be this contrast of this middle realm kind of unraveling itself on purpose, while we begin to feel the Divine Mother and the Earth Mother coming together as one for the first time in a very long time on this planet.